you, but for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Lucas Demarchi. I'm with Full Gauge Controls. I'm based in Miami, Florida. I've been based in North America for about 3 years. I've been with Full Gauge for just about 10 years now. And today we're gonna be looking at, I tried to be very specific to, during this presentation, we're gonna be looking at the key selling features of the Full Gauge products. We will also be discussing about how to overcome objections, some objections that we realized we had along the way. We realized, and then we're going to look at what are the support materials that are available for you, and what are the key selling products. Well, what are the best sellers and how we can communicate the value of those best sellers to the customer. So again, thank you very much for joining us today. And if you have any question, please do not hesitate to ask. And just one thing, Marisa, I'm unable to see the question. So if you wanna, bring up some of the questions as we go, please let me know, and we can address whenever you guys feel like. So
I will do that. And I'm also muting folks. So, check whether you're muted or not if you want to speak up.
Wonderful. All right. So just to revisit what we do and what we can offer. So Full Gauge has a full line of digital electronic solution for temperature control, humidity, pressure, voltage, that are used in the refrigeration, heating, and solar heating industries. So you will see, or you probably have noticed that we have a number of refrigeration controllers that are designed for medium and low temp applications. Some of the controllers are specific to refrigeration applications, such as milk coolers and other particular very specific applications. But we also have a line of dedicated temperature and humidity controls that can be used in wine cellars, cigar humidors, computer data centers. We actually have a really good success with the temperature and humidity line. And we already got some opportunities going with Robert Shaw and the aftermarket team. So that's also a very hot line, hot item to keep in mind, temperature and humidity. We also have a line of dedicated pressure-based controls that can be used from a single stage condensing unit to the multi-stage rack refrigeration system, more like a supermarket type of automation. And that's one thing, we're pretty much in every segment of the cold chain industry. We are in the food service. We have controllers designed for food service application, as well as we have controllers for retail applications, for supermarket applications that would include multiplex refrigeration systems and supermarket refrigerated warehouse and industrial projects. So just to revisit the full line capability, so we can basically provide solution for any temperature sensitive application, as well as we have solutions for a variety of humidity sensitive applications and pressure based sensitive applications. Products are UL and NSF certified. NSF, something that comes from this food service industry. And if you get asked, the products are UL and NSF certified. This is more into, we come across those requirements when we are working with equipment manufacturers mostly. But in case you come across those requirements in the aftermarket, you're sure to tell that we have UL and NSF. And as for us, the company, we do have the ISO 9001 and the ISO 14001. And that last one actually proves our commitment towards environmental friendly practices. So let's look at what are the key selling points on the full gauge product line. I have highlighted a few key selling points that we're gonna visit now. So first thing, and that's the main one, that's the first one that capture people attention, is the dual voltage capability. So today on the aftermarket, we are mostly competing against the Dixell Universal XR. Dixell Universal XR, that's the Emerson controller. It's a controller from Emerson. And they market their controller as to be a universal controller. Universal, according to their marketing strategy, they have a controller that can be used in either medium temp and low temp applications, coolers and freezers. However, their controller is only 1 voltage. So you need one part number for 110 and another part number for 220. So when we are presenting our products, one thing that capture a lot of attention is the dual voltage capability. Our controllers can either be powered in 110 to 20 or 12, 24, a different model. So normal voltage, it's 110, and the 110 controller can also be connected in 230. As you can see in here, there are 3 terminals for the power supply, terminal 9, 10, and 11. So if I connect, if I bring 2 wires in the terminal 9 and 10, I get 110 volts. I'm actually feeding 110 volts to the controller. If I take 1 neutral and 120 through the terminal 9 and 11, I have the 220 feeding the controller into 20 volts. So that dual voltage capability actually allow customers, wholesalers to reduce inventory, and as well as for the contractor, they can actually optimize their truck inventory, carrying less parts and be ready to service any job that might appear. Another huge selling point is the simplicity of programming. That's something that really stands out for full gauge product line. Again, I'm gonna be mentioning a lot about Dixell, about the Emerson control. That's the one we are mostly fighting against. And one thing that really, that we get a really good feedback from contractors and from the market overall is the simplicity of programming of our controller. So Dixell, they have what we call menu and sub-menu type of configuration. So basically when you enter on the controller settings, then you have to go to compressor settings, then you go to compressor delay settings, compressor cycle settings, then you go back to the main menu, then you enter fan settings, and you set up your fan settings, then you go back to the main menu and you enter defrost setting. So with their setup structure, you have to keep going back and forth. That makes really complicated to set up. Instead of doing that, Full Gauge provides a table-based programming with all the functions in a straightforward format. Function 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so thereon. In addition to that, all functions are in a numerical order. Very easy to identify, very easy to read, down to the point where you need to be. So the simplicity of programming, it's one of the most salient features of the Full Gauge product line. Another key selling point is the remote monitoring and control. So remote monitoring and control, it's an existing technology. It has been in the market for a while. Even Full Gauge has actually first developed our remote monitoring and control technology or software back in 1997. So we've been doing remote monitoring for over 22 years. Same as with other companies. There are other companies out there who are also doing remote monitoring. However, we have a very unique approach when it comes to remote monitoring. We're the only one providing a free to download solution that do not offer that there is virtually no incremental cost from conventional temperature control solution. So with our software, it's a free to download software. You just get the controllers that are compatible with the software, and then you add a converter interface that will translate the controller language into computer language, and you're good to go. So if you look at the other solutions available out there, the starting cost will be from $2,000 onward. With our solution, we can do remote monitoring for less than $200. That's a fraction of the cost that others are offering. So remote monitoring and control is another salient aspect of the Full Gauge product line. IP65, that's kind of common across different control manufacturers, but just to show you in here that our controller is waterproofed on the display. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure whether Dixel offer that IP65 or not. Anyway, we do. So our display is water resistant. It's a very, very robust mechanical construction that provides a great resistance against water and other inner parts, such as dust and other things that can damage the controller. And another thing that I would like to highlight that we understand and we get a really good feedback from the market that we understand it's one of the strongest key selling point is the support infrastructure. So we have a team of application engineers that provide pre and post sales support, helping the customers, contractors, and end users to make better use of their control technology. So we are active in different platforms, from a dedicated website that include wiring diagram, how-to videos, tutorials, and other support materials to 0800 line for tech support in 3 languages. We also have a number of other training and support programs that we have in place. So every time you pick up the phone and you call Full Gauge for tech support, you're going to be talking to a real person, a person that will be interested to understand your problem, understand your needs, and will do the best to solve that. So it's not like a machine set type of application that would really, it's just like a very intimate technical support, a very strong service. And that's what the market has told us. So that's a really positive feedback we get from the market. And that's how we become so successful. So the support infrastructure is definitely something that stands out. So just to revisit all those key selling points again, if somebody asks you, why should I consider Full Gauge? Dual voltage capability. It's easier to install and set up, very user-friendly. Free remote communication. So you have a free software for remote monitoring and management. So you're not only monitoring, but you can actually change things. We're gonna see later on this presentation, and we're gonna take a better look at the software feature. But it's completely free. There is no monthly recurring fee, no update fee, nothing. You get free software and free app, and it has been developed by our own team. So we don't outsource neither the controller development or production and the software development. So everything is done in-house. Superior quality, we provide 2 years warranty on those controllers in the international market. We have a very robust mechanical and electronic construction. So our controllers are built to last, and that's something which is widely recognized in the market. IP65, the waterproof display, the comprehensive support infrastructure that we talked about, and we're gonna see what's available, and immediate stock availability. So I'm sure you guys are aware, but Robert Shaw is stocking pretty much the full line of Full Gauge products. We have a number of products already available in stock in Brownsville, Texas, that are ready to serve your customers. So, and we have designed a set of accessories that are unique to Full Gauge and design, especially to the US market. Now, let's look at why choose full gauge controls. So that's an objection that we come across sometimes. If you're talking to a company, a wholesaler that have other control brands available, maybe they have Dixil, they might have Carel, they might have Danfoss, they might have whatever controller out there they have. They might be questioning you, why should I add another controller to my portfolio? Here is the why we think this is beneficial and this is something that will lead the customer to success. First of all, increase profit. We have designed MSRP. We have intensively studied the market price, and we came up with a well-established MSRP, which guarantees a very solid and healthy profit margin to the wholesalers, while providing a really aggressive selling price, a price that it's really appreciated by the contractors. So if we look at, and let's step back a little bit, remember that we talked about the Dixil being a universal controller that can do both medium and freezer applications, medium and low temp applications. And their average selling price is $150 for that controller. Well, if you look at the TC900, that's also a universal controller because you can apply for medium temp and low temp freezer applications as well. And the TC900 is offered only for $109. And the customers actually buy the TC900 for $60-90. So there is almost 50% margin right there for them. And however, 80% of the applications, most of the food service application only require a medium temp control, a controller that only controls the compressor with air defrost, with off-cycle defrost. So if you have one of those 80% applications which only require one relay output, with the Dixil, you would still have to pay $150. With our controller, you actually have that controller for $89. It's a more simplified option, which delivers just what the medium temp application needs for $89 and a solid margin to wholesaler. So why choose full gauge? First of all, increase profit with our established MSRP, which guarantees an aggressive selling price and solid margins. Now, another reason why choose full gauge, customer acquisition and retention. So that ability of providing a free to download software, actually raising the bar, upgrading the customers from conventional digital controls over to remote monitoring, it's a very successful strategy. That has allowed customers to raise the average ticket price because they're not only selling one controller, but now they will sell one converter along with it. The customers are happier because they're getting benefit from it. Contractors actually have multiple possible revenue streams with the remote monitoring. Their contractors are getting for free that software, but doesn't mean they have to give it away for free. So some contractors are charging their customers with a temperature monitoring fee, or they're charging, there are a number of possibilities that we can talk along this presentation. But those possibilities actually lock the customer by selling not only the controller, but a solution, a software solution. You're actually locking the customers with you. So you're increasing customer acquisition and retention. And you're increasing customer acquisition by differentiation, by simply differentiation, which is a free to download software solution. Another aspect we had in here was to reduce inventory. So that ability of being dual voltage, that will also reduce the number of SKUs that wholesalers will be carrying, and will be another reason why they should go with full gauge, or why would it be another justification for full gauge. So looking at the support is another very big aspect of for Presence. So as I mentioned to you before, this is something you don't find with Dixel, you don't find with Carel. And I mean, I'm into every refrigeration forum on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and I'm constantly following up those forums to listen to the contractors. I want to hear what contractors are saying about their challenges, about what they're facing out in the market, and how we can improve what we do to help the contractors out. And I know for sure that those companies, they don't provide a good support. I know for sure that you have a problem, you call, you're gonna have to speak with 3 different persons, and you gotta be waiting for a while until you get your problem solved. With ours, it's different. Your problem is our problem. So we have a 0800 tech line available for tech support. We have a FEG Finder app, which include product manuals and some videos, where to buy and other features. We have a fully dedicated website to the US market, which includes marketing and support materials, which we mentioned before, such as wiring diagrams, installation sheets, how-to videos, PDF tutorials, and more. We are actively providing training and seminars throughout the country. So if you have a customer that we could do a training, we could come and provide a training to their customers, we are more than happy to go on that initiative with you. We have webinars, and in fact, since this COVID-19 crisis broke up, we started a live series of webinar. We have live webinars every Wednesday. So we're talking about not only our products, but we're talking about application. We're really talking about refrigeration system and how people can do better with their refrigeration system. So we're not only committed to sell products, but we are actually committed for the betterment of our industry. So keep that in mind. Cross-reference. So this is just a piece of the marketing material and the support infrastructure that you'll find on our US-based website. By the way, it's www.fullgauge.us. That's the one that has been dedicated to the US market. And there you find support materials such as a competition cross-reference, which you have all our controllers and some of our main competition, which is Carel, Danfoss, Dixel, and Eliwell. However, here in the States, we're gonna find Dixel as the main competitor. That's the app I mentioned about before. So the app is another piece of our support infrastructure. Here you will find all the product manuals, electronic expansion valve selection, some installation videos, and more. So for those of you who haven't downloaded the FG Finder app yet, I highly recommend you to go online on your app store and download FG Finder. And if you do download the app, make sure you activate the notifications, because we are constantly releasing notes about product trainings and other events that we have. So please go online and download this. Can you guys hear me well? I'm actually having a feedback from my microphone in here.
Yep, we can hear you.
You're coming through fine, yes.
Is it fine? Okay.
Yep.
So point of purchase materials, we have a number of materials that are readily available. I know some of you had access to the counter displays. They're there. We also have counter mats that you can provide to your customers, roll-up banner. So any store, any opportunity to increase our exposure on the store, please bring to us, and we are really committed to provide whatever material is available, or if it is not available, we are committed to develop specific and dedicated materials that can enhance our store exposure. So make sure you are aware about those availabilities, and if you do see an opportunity, please do not hesitate to reach out. Well, now we're going to look at some products. Is there any question from what we have just talked about? Anything that maybe we need to clarify or understand?
So one question did come through on the chat. What languages is the engineering team available?
It's
Obviously.
English, Portuguese, and Spanish. So we have, and that's something we've been, Spanish seems to be big here in Florida, Texas, and California. So if you guys need tech support in Spanish, make sure to reach out to us because we do offer that as well. Any other question, Marisa?
So far, that's the only one. Oh, wait, one more, hang on. Do we have a hand on the programming? I'm not sure I understand that question, but.
Sorry, come again?
Do we have a hand on the programming? Damien, what? A handout, okay. Sorry. Do you have a handout on the programming? Step-by-step flyer.
Yeah, so basically what we do with the programming, we actually have developed for the two best-selling ones, which we're gonna see now, the 512 and the MT512 and the DC900. We have designed a specific installation manual. It's not like the full product manual. We actually have resumed the full product manual into an installation guide and installation manual. So that one will actually lead you through every step of the setup, from changing your desired temperature to change your defrost cycle and how you do so. So we have very nice piece of material that has been developed to simplify installation and configuration. Hope that answers the question. It's online. So when you go to fullgauge.us, you will see there are, I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, Damien also wants to know where he can get it.
Yes, I'm actually now, I find a way to see the questions. I manage a way to bring the chat up to my screen. So thank you. Okay. So Damien, yes, this is actually available on the fullgauge.us website. So when you go to fullgauge.us, you will see a support section. Under that support section, you have two options. One is the contractor support, where you have more contractor-oriented materials. And the other section is the wholesaler support. There you have more marketing-oriented materials. Piece of materials that will support the sales of full gauge products. So if you go in the contractor section, manuals, you will find those specific documents. So Peter is saying IP65, is that NEMA rating UL? We say waterproof, like NEMA 3? Rain tide classification, does our competitors also comply? What are the applications out there for this feature? Well, IP65, I'm not sure, to be honest, Peter, if that falls under the NEMA. I'm not familiar with the NEMA requirement, with the NEMA standard. I know that that's a rating that is commonly, it's common across control manufacturers. So IP rating is the common rating used for digital controls when we're talking about protection rating. So every time when we talk about protection, it always falls into the IP rating. So that IP rating, the first number means one thing and the second number means another thing. So it's two different levels of protection. If our competitor does comply, some of their controllers do comply, some of their controllers do not comply. So I would have to revisit the Universal XR to see if that complies. I can't remember from the top of my head. I actually looked at some of their newer controllers, and I know their newer controller does comply, but the one that we see every time when we walk into the store, I don't know for sure. So I'll have to find out. And what are the applications out there for this feature? Food service application. So all the food service equipment manufacturer, I mean, replacement of OEM control. So I've seen places where they're washing the kitchen. After every shift, somebody goes and rolls down the kitchen. So that water might get into the controller and damage the circuit board, and you have a problem right there. So that tight sealing of our display will actually prevent that water from entering the PCB, the control circuit board. So that's a feature that would be highlighted to those guys that are having problem in food service application in restaurant with controllers that are being burned because of water. All right, so let us move forward. What are the best selling? So here we're gonna take a look at the first best selling, and this is the one which will go for looking at food service application. And why I keep mentioning about that 80-20 rule. The 80% of the applications only require a medium temp control, and the remaining 20 will require the freezer controller, the low temp controller. I do mention that because if you walk into a restaurant, for every 5 pieces of equipment you see in a restaurant, 4 will be coolers and 1 will be freezer. Isn't it that the ratio we see out there? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we've been realizing in the market. So that means that for every 5 pieces of equipment you have, 4 needs only a medium temp controller, and that's our 512. What's a medium temp controller? A medium temp controller, and in fact, I would like to invite you to our next webinar. We're gonna have a webinar Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you have a chance, next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna be talking about how to select the right refrigeration controller. So how do you make a selection for the right refrigeration controller? When you are retrofit on a mechanic application, when you wanna upgrade from mechanical over to digital, or when you wanna replace an existing OEM digital control. And here is basically what we have. We have a controller that has got 1 relay output and 1 sensor. What that means that I have 1 temperature sensor that will be installed inside of the cabinet, inside of the refrigeration space, and that sensor will call for compressor on and off. Now, this controller also have a built-in buzzer, a built-in timer, which provides an off-cycle air defrost, natural defrost, air defrost, or off-cycle defrost, whatever terminology you want to use. So basically, this particular one combines your thermostat and defrost timer all in one and provides you a nice digital readout. So you're combining your thermostat and defrost timer in one module. And this module can be used for both cooling and heating. So there is one parameter which is called operating mode that you can set for cooling or heating. The controller comes preset for cooling. So again, this is a very simple, a very user-friendly solution, a very streamlined solution, the MT512E2HP. And the MT512E2HP provides a powerful 2 horsepower relay output. That means I can hook up compressors up to 2 horsepower direct into the controller terminal without the need of external contactor or other device. So you can control 2 horsepower compressors with the MT512. So again, MT512, best-selling product. It's going to be good for any cooler or heating application. And when you're looking at the cooling application, if it is requiring off-cycle defrost, air defrost, this is the ideal option. Very simple, 1 relay, 1 sensor, built-in timer for off-cycle defrost. That's basically the wiring diagram, and you can use, I mean, there are so many technical things that we could be talking about, but I don't want to get to you, I don't want to you think that is complicated, but there are so many possibilities you can do in here. You can control the compressor or solenoid valve, for example, in a refrigeration system. So many variations that it can do. And those variations, this versatility is because we have an independent circuit for the power supply and the relay. So what are the relays? Relays are just like a switch, just like a light switch. You run something through it and you can switch on and off based on a variable, which in some case the variable will be temperature, some other case the variable will be pressure, some other case the variable might be humidity. So based on those variables, the relay will go on and off to activate or deactivate a load. Looks like we have one question in here. Well, the RC filter, Peter, that's a very good question. Thanks for bringing that up. That's actually not required by full gauge. That's actually required by international standards, such as EEC, IEC, and EWAL. So the RC filter is just like a noise suppressor filter. It's just a little device that you add to minimize the chance of electromagnetic interference and the electric arc that can have in some applications. So the RC filter can actually be installed in 2 cases. You can install on the controller power supply. In this case, we are feeding power to the controller through terminal 9 and 11. That's it, 220 volts. Again, if we had 110 installation, we would be feeding power through terminal 9 and 10. And here I could have one RC filter, like a noise suppressor type of protection device. Or I could also have one RC filter, noise suppressor, surge suppressor, as you might want to call as well, on the relay output. So that would be the possibility. That's just to minimize any potential electromagnetic interference, so just to minimize interference. Now, we talked about the 512. The 512, again, medium temp and heating. Good for medium temp off-cycle defrost. However, now if you have a freezer application, what's a freezer application needs? A freezer application needs a controller that can control the compressor, evaporator fan, and defrost. Freezer application have defrost, forced defrost cycles methods, which are normally hot gas or electric defrost. So our TC900E2HP is loaded with 3 relay outputs that can drive your compressor, fan, and defrost, 2 sensors, one sensor that will go inside of the refrigeration space that will call for compressor on and off, and the other sensor that goes in the evaporator coil. And that one will be responsible to manage the defrost cycle. So you have one sensor for the room, compressor control, and the other sensor for the evaporator coil defrost control. The TC900E2HP also includes a 2 digital input, which you can connect to a door switch, for example, and monitor when the door is open, closed, how long the door is open for, and if the door is left open, you get an alarm. Alarm is also another thing that is featured with the TC900E2HP. It has got a built-in buzzer that sounds an audible alarm in case high temp, low temp, door opening, and other instance. So this controller is also good for electric, hot gas, or your normal off-cycle air force defrost. So you have all these defrost options. In addition to that, we have what we call on-demand defrost. You might have heard the word adaptive defrost, on-demand defrost. There are different terminologies that really tells you that you're performing the defrost only when it's needed. So instead of run time-based defrost cycles that you don't know if it is what you need or if it is you know, in excess, you're rather running on demand. You're running temperature-based, let's call this temperature-based defrost instead of the time-based defrost. So that's an energy-saving feature. We have other energy-saving features loaded with the TC900, such as economy set point, fast freezing set point, and more. So what I want to show you is that the TC900 can be used for any freezer application, including but not limiting to reaching freezers, upright, chest, walking freezers, and more. So any application that requires precise temperature and defrost control, you're gonna look at the TC900E. But again, you can use the TC900E as a medium temp controller. But that's what you have to ask yourself. Why would I spend the extra, you know, $30 on my TC900 if I only need the features of my MT512? I better go with the $89 controller that offers just what I need for my medium temp application. So that's a thing to keep in mind. Here's the wiring diagram of the TC900. So here you can see that we connect the compressor on terminal 15. You have your fan output on terminal 17, your evaporator fan, and that will allow you to delay the fan after defrost, or there are energy saving fan settings there also that we don't have to debate about, but we have smart fan capability with that. And the other output, the third output, is for defrost purpose, and that one that can run electric or hot gas defrost. Here we have the two sensors, one for room, calling compressor on and off, and the other one for the coil, calling for defrost on and off. And on top of that, terminal 5 through 8, we have the digital inputs. And the digital inputs can be used for a door switch or a third sensor. And the third temperature sensor would be used for a condensing temperature control or a twin evap system. Here's we have a question. How many sensors can we hook up to one TC900? And how far we can run them? Hey, that's a really good question, Peter. Thanks again for asking. In fact, as you can see on this presentation, the TC900 can use up to 3 temperature sensors, up to 3 temperature sensors. Sensor 1, that is used to control compressor on and off. Sensor 2, that will be the defrost sensor. And the third sensor that can be used for a condenser temperature alarm, or when you're looking at the walk-in cooler and freezers, those big walk-in cooler and freezers that you have a 2 evaporator. It's normally called twin evaporator system. So you can manage defrost independently through the third sensor. And how far can we run the sensors? The sensors can be extended up to 600 feet away from the controller. 600 feet away from the controller. Here we have a question from Murray. Murray, the demand defrost used one evaporator sensor or require a second evaporator sensor? Only use one evaporator sensor. And we have a couple of algorithms to perform the on-demand defrost. We have one algorithm that performs based on the coil temperature and adds some validation time to prevent false defrost calls. And we have another algorithm that looks at the differential temperature, the temperature difference between room and evaporator. And when there is when the temperature difference increase, means that you're losing efficiency, and that's when you run the defrost. So we have a couple of ways of doing it. these two controllers that we just looked at, those are the best selling controllers. And for those, we actually developed a specific and customized co-branded package. And that's how the package looks like. So we made a clamshell package that can provide good exposure within the store. So the idea is to fight for the best store position we can to provide good exposure and increase our impulse sale activity. So here we have another question from Alexis. Alex is asking, can the sensors be spliced and extended? Yes, you can. You can. I mean, I understand you're just. Oh yeah, you can definitely splice and extend, and as well as you can just, you know, this is something that we come across sometime. An application where you had an existing temperature control. Let's say we had a Dixel controller on the application, and now the customer wants to switch to full gauge. Can they use the same sensor? Well, I'm supposed to say no, because that's what my technical literature tells me. But I know for sure that you can, you know, if you leave the other sensor, you only get like few degrees difference from the reading. You will have some difference on temperature reading. Few degrees off will be, but those few degrees off can be adjusted on the controller offset function. So you have a calibration parameter within the controllers that allows you to calibrate this temperature deviation. But another possibility, if you don't want to do that, I mean, and that's what you know, I recommend also, is to just cut the tip of the existing sensor, just strip that tip off, and splice the full gauge tip in. It just connect the full gauge tip on there, and if you have any temperature deviation caused by the connection, for that connection, you can always adjust on the offset. So that's another possibility. So again, this is the package that have been developed in partnership with Robert Shaw and Renko. This provides a nice exposure, as you can see, we have 14512 highlighting digital controller for refrigeration and heating, and the TC900, which is the freezer controller, digital controller for refrigeration and defrost. Now, we also have controllers that we talked about the remote monitoring. So what are the controllers with remote monitoring? Controllers with remote monitoring will have the CTROD mark on it. So you have the CTROD mark on the product catalog. You'll have the CTROD mark on the product manual. But one thing that you probably have to will guide you better, if you have the A and B connection. So the CTROD is the A and B connection in here. So this is the serial communication port for the controller. So this is the also known, the technical term for that is RS-485. The controller has RS-485 capability. So what do? You just bring two simple wire out of that RS-485, and that will allow you to have the software communication. So we have a version of the MT512, which is good for any medium temp and heating application. So same setup as the other 512 we saw, but the 512E log provides you CTROD communication and built-in data logger. So the controller itself allows you to store up to 130 days of data on the controller memory itself. So, and if you have the controller connected to the software 24/7, you will have a redundancy of data. The controller will be storing the data on its memory, as well as the software will be storing the data on the server. So
this is Andy Drummond. Sorry, I didn't miss your call. I didn't pick it up because I didn't recognize the name.
Andy, you're not muted.
Yep.
All right, so
Andy?
Yeah, so the 512E log, again, same features and characteristics as the 512E 2HP, in addition to CTROD communication and built-in data logger. That's the screen of the CTROD, the MT512 when connected to CTROD software. That's why you get the screen feedback. So you have your room temperature, and you have your compressor running, door open, and all this data available on your computer or cell phone. We also have a version of CTROD compatible freezer controller. That's the TC900E log. The TC900E log include all the features of the TC900E2HP, in addition to built-in data logger and RS-485 communication for CTROD software. So in addition of controlling your compressor, fan, defrost, you have built-in data logger that can store temperature data, output status, door opening and closing up to 90 days on the controller itself. And when you have that connected to the software, that provides you a permanent data collection and storage. The TC900E log also features a couple of other nice features like an hour meter. It can actually monitor the working hour of your compressor, indicating predictive maintenance time. So it actually alerts you when there is a time for predictive maintenance. In addition to that, the TC900E log has got a light intensity sensor. So there is a built-in light intensity sensor on the display, which triggers the economy set point, the energy saving feature. So whenever the store has dimmed its light, the TC900 will understand that and will trigger the economy set point, raising the set point to reduce compressor running time and defrost cycles. So again, the TC900E log will have the A and B connection for your CTROD communication. So another question here from Peter. How do you know when a contractor would benefit from a data logger product? When do you offer that application? So there are a number of circumstances where a contractor will benefit. So the contractor will benefit actually by the ability of pulling up the historical data. So contractor having the historical data will allow them to have a better understanding to better understand the system and an easy diagnostic feature. So the data logger for contractor becomes a diagnostic feature. Contractor can see what was the performance of the system before the call that he went. He can understand what happened with the defrost cycle. He can see what happened with the compressor cycle, doors, and all that. So he will benefit from the diagnostic perspective. Now the customer will benefit from having a better safeguard of their food or medicines. The customer will benefit about having predictive alerts. If anything goes wrong, they get an alert and they can take actions before the problem happens. Customer benefit from alarm, from a report, have a full report from the history data. So those are the benefits. And when do you offer that? You can offer for any pharmaceutical application. Pharmaceutical is it's mandatory actually. That's one application that you can certainly push the data logger. Pharmaceutical, medicine, but also in the food service business where you need more, you need to comply with health regulation, with city inspections and those things. That's where the data logger becomes a very valuable asset. And that's the screenshot of your TC900 when connected to CTROD software. So you're gonna see right on your screen what's the room temp, coil temp, whenever compressor is on, off, fan, defrost, and more. So you have a very user-friendly and intuitive application free of charge. Another product that we see a good opportunity, and we actually sell a lot here in the States, is the 530E Super. That's quite unique to full gauge range, actually. You won't see this option elsewhere. This combines a temperature and humidity controller in one device. So this device, it's also dual voltage. You can power in 110 to 20. And the device comes with a combined temperature and humidity probe and 3 outputs of control. So these 3 outputs of control actually allows me to set cooling or heating on the first output. I can run cooling or heating, humidification or dehumidification. And the third output, the third relay, it's an auxiliary output. That auxiliary output allows to run a second stage of cooling, heating, humidification, dehumidification, or a cyclical timer. So you have one output, one temperature output that can be set for cooling or heating, one humidity output that you can set for humidification or dehumidification, and the third auxiliary one that you can set for a second stage of cooling, heating, or whatever that might be. This is really good for, again, OD vaccine, medicine storage, computer data centers, cigar humidors, wine cellars. Wine is huge. Cheese, drying rooms, greenhouses. I recently traveled with Matt Balcunas in Kansas City and other areas. We saw opportunities for the 530 Super in greenhouses. That's a big market out there that we can explore with this product. So this is something that it's very unique to full gauge. It's a temperature and humidity controller with free software communication. So this is a hot item to push, and this provides really good differentiation. So that's how the wiring diagram works. We have the combined temperature and humidity sensor, the 3 outputs of control, the thermostatic output that can be set for cooling or heating, the humidity output, and the auxiliary output, and the RS-485 communication to the CTRAD software. So just to show you a little bit about the pressure-based control line. So we have a line of controllers that are pressure-based. So instead of running based on temperature, it now runs based on pressure. Pressure can be suction or discharge pressure. So this is the PCT100. It's a single stage pressure-based control that can be used in condensing units. Some of the newer condensing units are now coming with the digital pressure control. Those ones can be replaced to a full gauge digital pressure control eventually if there is a replacement need, or customers that want to retrofit existing applications to digital control technology. That's also a good solution out there. So we have the PCT100E for single pressure, for single stage pressure-based system. We have also a dual stage pressure-based controller and multi-stage pressure-based controls that are ideal for supermarket rack applications or water chiller, for example. So I just wanted to highlight some of course, we have a number of other control solutions. We have some very specific application, some application-specific controls. But the idea in here was to bring an overview on the temperature, humidity, and pressure-based controls. Is there anything, any question you have, or anything that we can assist you now? Okay.
I did mute a bunch of folks, so you'll have to unmute if you need to, if you have any questions.
All right, so let's take a look at the CTRAD software. That's the very end of our presentation today. We're just gonna take a look at what are the features of CTRAD, benefit, and how CTRAD works. What do you need for it to work? So again, CTRAD was developed back in 1997, so it's been in the market for over 20 years. CTRAD is actually approved by Microsoft and goes in line with the FDA requirements concerning Section 21 CFR. So for those companies that are trying to obtain the ISO 22000, the food safety ISO, CTRAD becomes a really good asset for temperature monitoring and data storage. So those customers can now have electronic data storage through CTRAD. CTRAD actually comply with all the FDA regulation concerning electronic data storage. And this CTRAD will provide you the ability of live monitor all your temperature, pressure, humidity, and whatever else you have connected to CTRAD software. In addition to that, you're not only monitoring, but you can actually interact with those controllers. You can go online and change the settings. You can force a defrost. You have a full management capability right from your palm of your hand or from your computer. So, and completely free of charge. You have a free software, free app, and free support. So allowing modification of control parameters. If anything goes wrong, software will send out an alarm message via email saying, hey, the temperature might be high, my pressure might be dropping, the door is open, maybe the defrost terminated based on time, whether it should terminate on temperature. All those instances, you get an alert, a real-time alert. That's very important, a real-time alert if anything goes wrong. And the log feature, that's also another salient feature, is the ability of logging the system data. So, and you can eventually see that system data on a chart or text format. So you have full management capability, alarm, and reports. And more, of course, you have much more. It's a very comprehensive software, and we're just trying to bring the bullet points in here. So we talked about before, what are the benefits for CTRAD? So you have temperature reports for authorities quickly and easily. So that means you're actually getting rid of the spreadsheet. You know, we've seen most restaurants, they carry a spreadsheet next to the walk-in box where somebody have to go and write down temperatures every 4 or 6 hours. So you can eliminate the spreadsheet. No need for a spreadsheet anymore. Everything gets automated with the CTRAD software. And another benefit is to save service calls. So with the remote diagnostic, what we were talking about before, ability of remote diagnostic provide you the understanding of the system performance and easy identification of inefficiencies. So you can change the settings and adjust without traveling all the way to the site. So that actually reduces a lot service calls. And the constant temperature monitoring, the constant refrigeration cycle monitoring, the constant defrost monitoring will lead you to up to 20% energy efficiency. Some of the advantages, I mean, you know, first of all, there is no dedicated hardware required. That's the main advantage I see out there. You know, you don't need to buy an expensive dedicated hardware to host the software. With the Dixel, you do have to buy the XWeb. That will cost you from $800 upwards. I mean, with the others, you always have to buy dedicated, expensive, and complicated dedicated hosting device that you can save the software. Basically, you can download their software to that device. With the CTRAD software, you don't need any dedicated device. Any existing computer can be used to host the software. So that what becomes so affordable. And even if you don't have a computer on site, or even if you don't want to host the software on site, we have a TCP/IP type of device which allows you to host the software in an off-site location. or even in the cloud if that's the customer desire. So how it works, let me actually go to the next one, and that's going to be easier to understand. So basically we have the CTRAD compatible controllers, and from the A and B connection, we do a daisy chain type of setup, daisy chain type of wire. We wire one controller to another, and by the end, we run through this device through an interface, which translates the controller language into the computer language. And each interface can take up to 32 controls. So again, we're talking about virtually nothing. There is no incremental cost, because if you take, we are marketing the Conf32. That's the best selling interface we have. Conf32, you're selling for $99, I believe. So say customer is buying for $150. You take $150, divide for, let me actually do the math in here. Let's see what we get. I used to be better on to do those math, but we take 150 divided by 32 and we got 4.68. So to do remote monitoring at the contractor cost less than $5 per controller. And that's it, less than $5 per controller, and now you have remote monitoring. Alexis is asking, is there a limit of controllers in the system? Very good question, Alexis. No, there are no limits of controllers in the system. Each converter can take up to 32 controls. However, you can add multiple converters to one system. You can have 10 Conf32s, you can have Conf32s, you can have TCP IP, you can have different converters all hook up to the same system. So in fact, we have applications, installation sites where we have more than 300 controllers installed. That's very significant. So there are no limitations. So that's basically how it happens. And this is the hardwired option, where we daisy chain up to 32 controls, run through this device that goes in RS-485, comes out USB, you stick with the computer, download the software, and you're good to go. You have the local monitoring. Now, if that computer is connected to the internet, you have an IP address, and from there you can log remotely from a cell phone or a remote computer or laptop. But let's say you don't want to do the hardwired option. Maybe customer don't have any way to run wires all over the place. Maybe there is a restriction or whatever. If they cannot go with the hardwired option, we have the Wi-Fi option. And the Wi-Fi is called TCP 485 Wi-Fi log. That's the one, TCP, Tom, Chris, Peter, 485 Wi-Fi log. That one provides you a wireless communication between your between your converter and the computer. So again, I can daisy chain up to 32 controls, hardwire control to the TCP Wi-Fi, and the TCP Wi-Fi will be talking to your computer via your internet router. Just like we have on the setup in here, controller hardwired to the TCP and the TCP talking to the internet router wirelessly. You can connect up to 32 controllers in one TCP, and you can also have multiple TCPs on the same site. So that provides you just another option. So again, Conf32, that's the hardwire USB converter. TCP 485 Wi-Fi log, that's the wireless one. And we also have the TCP 485. That's the one that connects via RJ45, those Ethernet cables, those corporate Ethernet cable. And last but not least, we have recently released the CTRAD Inbox. The CTRAD Inbox combines the Conf32, go back in here, oops. CTRAD Inbox combines the Conf32, the TCP Wi-Fi, the TCP IP, and a computer, all in one. So the CTRAD Inbox becomes your dedicated server and gateway to all your full gauge controllers. Now, As you can see, DC threading box has the RS-485 built in, so I can daisy chain up to 32 controls and run through DC threading box, connect straight through DC threading box, or I can have multiple Conf32 hook up to my C threading box, those installations that have more than 32 controls. I have 4 USB ports. I have the RJ45 port, that's the port for the regular TCP 485, that's the Ethernet port, corporate network port, and built-in Wi-Fi capability. So it provides you communication as well as storage for your C-Thread software. So the C-Threading box comes with this software pre-installed on it. So this replaces the computer. Let's say we're working on a project that the customer don't want you to use the existing infrastructure. Some customers are concerned with their security. Even so, the software, the C-Thread is full encrypted. It cannot be manipulated. The data cannot be manipulated. But some customers have restrictions for connecting on their network. So here you have the C-Threading box, which provides a dedicated server device that allows you to go outside the customer network. And again, just a quick, just a window of DC Thread software, how it looks like. It's a very nice design, very intuitive, very user-friendly solution. This is $1 million software that we offer free of charge. And it's literally $1 million software that we offer free of charge. You have nice graphics, capability. You can run your temperature, pressure, and more. And that's pretty much it. Now we are open for questions.
Thanks, Farron. Farron's comment was best presentation ever.
Thank you very much, Farron. Thanks for your continued support. And we appreciate very much all the progress we have made so far. And in fact, while you guys are bringing the presentations, let me share with you some success stories we have so far. Maybe Farron can also share some. Alisa, we had some success stories down in Texas. Phil, we did some nice calls as well. I also worked with Matt. We recently, we worked with in Kansas City and in St. Louis. We had good stories with Peter, with Shane. So maybe we can talk about some of those success stories. I will start from a project we closed with Phil thanks, Mike. Thanks very much for being here with us. Can we possibly do with contractors? You mean the presentation, Mike? If we can do the presentation with contractors, certainly. That's what we are eager for. We would love to do those presentations with contractors. So please set as much as you can for that. And by the way, I've been working from home for the last 4 weeks. I'm really desperate for traveling. And I know that I won't be able to travel in a short time. So please keep me busy with those conferences, with those webinars, with those trainings. Even if you get like one contracting company that is interested to learn more about our products, please feel free to set up those. Please feel free to set up those calls, and we can do like a one-on-one webinar, one-on-one training presentation. So if you have contractors that you feel there are opportunities, please do not hesitate to connect with us, and we can do training, we can do product discussion, anything. So please, I look forward to have more interaction with all of you. Peter is saying remove Johnston pricing. I believe you're to remove that when we're talking to contractors, right, Peter?
That would be yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah, no, for sure, we will do that. No worries, we'll do that. So yeah, that's actually a good point Peter has brought in here. We'll be sharing this presentation, but please do not share this presentation elsewhere. Or maybe what I'll do, I'll just remove that slide. Murray is asking, I was on the Full Gauge website, and are there spec sheet submittals for CTROD modules? So CTROD, we have two versions of CTROD. The one we looked at today and the latest one is the CTROD Pro. CTROD Pro actually combines all the old CTROD modules in one software. So the CTROD Pro does not require those multiple modules. That was for the old CTROD. The old CTROD, we had a local, remote, and the cell phone app module. We actually combined these three modules in one CTROD Pro software. So with the CTROD Pro, you don't have these different modules. It's just one application that you run on the server and on the remote computers and on the cell phone and so thereon. And Farron is saying to remove the PIM data, PIM data from the pricing. Yes, we'll do so, Farron. Thank you. So, so recently we actually got and so recently, maybe, does anyone want to share a success story? Alicia is asking, yes.
So Lucas, maybe, and since you walk through it step by step with me, and people get tired of me talking, maybe you could just briefly share the recent Grainger discussion that we had with a customer in New Jersey. Because I think that was a little bit different, but at the same time, you guys were still able to provide a solution for really kind of a unique situation they wanted to solve.
Yes. Farron and I, we've been working on a project with Grainger in New Jersey. So the customer has actually a manufacturing facility for powder protein products. So they actually process those different elements into powder. And one of the critical aspects of that manufacturing process is temperature control. So they have several critical temperature control points throughout the facility. And they were looking for a solution that could monitor those temperature controls, provide alerts in real time, and historical data. So they came back to us and they were like, what should we use? And so first thing we had to do, we had to really understand what's the customer necessity. So initially we thought the customer wants to upgrade for controlling solution. But in the end, we saw that the customer did not want to control. He didn't want to mess with what he already had. So he wanted only the temperature monitoring. So after we understood customer requirement, we started to look at the store layout and see what was the different points that they need the temperature control. And we were able to come up with a very simple and affordable solution. We actually used thermometers. There is a product called TI-44. It's a digital thermometer with CTROD communication that provides you 4 temperature points. So by using only 8 TI-44, it's just 8 TI-44, we are actually able to monitor 24 temperature points and provide that solution for less than $1,000, where a customer was willing to pay a lot more. But we came down with a solution that was so simple, and so user-friendly and cost-effective that we got the job. So that's one project. We recently got another project with Phil in Atlanta. where the customer had different walk-in boxes, and he also wanted to control temperature. He wants to monitor temperature. But then in that case, it was different. The customer only wanted temperature monitoring, but we ended up selling the customer the control. Because when we introduced the possibilities to the customer realized that with our control, he had the possibility to do cooling and heating with an auto change over type of setup. So it was like very advanced cooling, heating, auto changeover. And the customer actually replaced, he bought the equipment, brand new OEM equipment, equipped with existing controls. He actually knocked down those existing controls in order to put a full gauge controller in, only because of the C-Trod software. So there was a nice application where we worked on many walk-in boxes that had some cooling and heating requirement. There was also a nice project that we won. And that was a project we sold through United Refrigeration. So as you can see, we're selling in United Refrigeration. We are not on their system yet, but we have active sales through United Refrigeration. We are in the Johnston Supply system. We are in the Baker Distributing system. And now we're working to bring some inventory. We are also in other regional wholesalers. I know we have made really good progress in California. I know we made good progress, really good progress in the Great Lakes, in the central US area. And thank you very much for all your support. Thanks for the opportunity of working with you all. And I know we are making tremendous success stories in a lot of places. And we are here to help you guys to increase those or to bring more stories like that. Here we have a couple of comments that I would like to share. One from Peter. There is a FGUS website and another South American website. Yes, that's correct. We have www.fullgauge.us. That's the North America oriented website. And the fullgauge.com is the one for the rest of the world, is our global website. Alisa is also saying that we do have YouTube trainings in Spanish. Yeah, so what we have now, I mentioned that before, but we have the live training initiative happening. So every Tuesday, we have a Spanish speaking training, every Tuesday. If you follow our social medias and you sign up for our newsletter, you will get notification for those events. Every Tuesday, we have Spanish speaking training. Wednesday, we have an English speaking training, and Thursday, we have a Portuguese. But in fact, the English are more, we are ahead of the other markets actually. It's gonna be our 5th training next Wednesday, and we're gonna talk about how to select the right refrigeration controller, how to make the right selection on your refrigeration controller. What are the things you gotta look into when selecting a refrigeration controller? And that knowledge can be applied not only to full gauge products, it can be applied to any controller. So again, we're not really trying to sell products in here. We're really trying to improve our industry, you know, help our industry to raise the bar to the next level. So please do not hesitate to invite your customers and ask for your customer support on those events. If they can also invite their contractors, because I'm sure their contractors will be benefiting from the knowledge we're providing on those trainings. Any other question, anything?
Thank you, Lucas. This was really great. And I definitely would invite everybody on this call to please send your feedback. You can send it to my email address, and we will, any special requests that you need, any content that you need, any training support that you need, any information, just you know, drop an email back, and Lucas and Tom Dwyer, our product manager, and I will work on trying to get those answers back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Marisa. Thank you everyone for joining our training today. It was a pleasure to have you all. And once again, I'm available. We are 100% available to you guys. So please, if you get training opportunities, one-on-one calls, we are here. Even during this time, we understand there are, we're facing really challenging times. So, and we are unable to travel. So if you have opportunity to get a meeting with a contractor, we can do those live. We can set up a conference call, a webinar, whatever with those contractors and with customers. So please do not wait for the time to change. Let's get aggressive and let's keep doing what we can, because we're gonna make this even more successful. So thank you very much for being here, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Lucas.